Hey guys, this is Charlie subbing in for TheTopher to bring you this first drive on the new 2023 Toyota Prius Prime. Today we're out in an actually rainy San Diego, something that not many people expected, but we're going to take this opportunity, start this thing up, take a look at how it looks inside and out, and go for a little drive with this plug-in hybrid model. Some similar noises and appearance to the normal Prius that Chris has already gotten the chance to review. So if you do want to see that, he'll probably throw a link or something down there so you can watch his first drive on the hybrid Prius. But this is an XSE model plug-in hybrid, the Prime version. This one coming in about $39,000 as spec'd. We have a supersonic red color, as we'll see in a moment out here. Mid-level trim, you've got an SE, an XSE, and then an XSE Premium above that. This one's getting you pretty much the things you need. You're getting heated seats, heated steering wheels, actually standard on all the models. We have a panoramic roof. In fact, let's just take a quick look at our build spec here for you all. This one has the $425 paint, as I mentioned. We do have the 12.3-inch Toyota audio multimedia display, only $735 to get this larger one. An 8-inch display comes standard, $1,000 for the roof. But like I said, just a hair under $39,000 for this one. 19-inch wheels, 220 horsepower combined from this one. We have a 13.6 kilowatt-hour battery helping propel us. Front-wheel drive only, so something that if you were looking to get an all-wheel drive Prius, you might want to stick with the hybrid option, as you can get all those with all-wheel drive. This one, front drive only. You should be able to squeeze about 39 miles of mixed driving in EV only for this car. 44 miles if you opt for the lower model, the SE, which gets you some smaller, more aerodynamic wheels. Pretty cool interior as well. Some red bits on the Prime model, making it a little bit more fun to stand out. Let's hop out and take a look. Just a little bit of a light drizzle, nothing that we can't handle out here. Very similar appearance, unlike the previous generation Prius where the Prime looked quite a bit different than the hybrid model. This one, pretty similar, so you're still getting those striking looks from the normal Prius. We do see our charge port. If you charge in level 2 here, you're only going to get up to 16 amps at 240 volts, so about 3.2, remember if it was 3.2 or 3.6 kilowatts charging up there. So you're not going to charge it quite as quickly as you might with a full battery electric vehicle or some of the other plug-in hybrid models. It's going to take you about 4 hours to charge from nothing on level 2 and about 11 hours overnight, which for me, I think is quite okay. If you're buying a plug-in hybrid vehicle, you're probably not quite ready to jump all the way into the EV lifestyle, and you don't have to have a level 2 charger installed at home. You can just charge this thing up overnight and then drive it as an electric vehicle the next day. I think that's a nice compromise. You have a 3-prong 120 volt outlet there, 1500 watts, so you could power a hairdryer, as I like to say, to substitute Topher. Good looks in the back as well, that sort of retro-y design. Here are our 19-inch wheels wrapped in Michelin Primacy all-season tires. As we'll see when we're out on these wet roads, you can break them loose in the front with all this torque. No published torque figure from Toyota for combined between the gasoline engine and the battery or the electric motor, but we predict somewhere in the mid 200s, I would say, when you combine the electric motor and the gas motor. Pretty flat load surface there. If you want to fold the seats down, we do have 60-40 split fold seats. Now, the back seat of the Prius Prime is not what I would call roomy. I haven't actually spent time in the normal Prius, but I'm not sure if this one's a little bit tighter, batteries being underneath us or what, but at 5'10", my head is hitting the ceiling. And I actually rode as a passenger back here earlier, and we went over a bump and my head banged right into the ceiling. So the Prius is no longer going to be a rideshare car, if you will, or if you had a family of 3 or 4, you might want to think twice about getting a Prius for regular commuting with people, because I'm not a particularly large person and I'm not very comfortable back here. I think that's a bit of a misstep from Toyota's part. Flip down armrest, no big surprises. The other thing that's strange in the rear is no vents here in the XSE model. I don't know if that's different in the XSE Premium, but again, if you're going to have people riding back here for a longer period of time, you're going to have to be sending a lot of air from the front. 2 USB-C ports down there, as well as an ungrounded USB, or rather 120 volt wall style outlet. That's kind of weird that no grounding port there. Interesting. Let's take a quick look at the engine, although there isn't too much to see. We got the 2-liter inline 4, making you about 150 horsepower, if I remember correctly, and then about 160 max horsepower from the battery pack. Unfortunately, those don't stack perfectly. Like I said, a 220 combined horsepower for the engine and electric motor going together. Doesn't look like it would be super well insulated, but as you'll see from behind the wheel, it does sound much more refined than Prius engines of the past. You can get an optional solar roof with the XSE Premium model. Not a ton of money for it. I think about $600 some. That will give you up to 180 watts of charging on full sun. So when the vehicle's parked, that will actually charge up the hybrid vehicle battery. And when you're driving, it just charges the 12 volt to power all the electronics. So it's not going to replenish a whole bunch of range, but you could get, in theory, a few miles of extra range if you parked out all day in the sun. This screen right here is for our low speed driving assist. I can't remember the official Toyota terminology, but under 25 miles per hour, the car will drive for you, watches your eyes, and as long as you're paying attention, you can take your hands off the wheel and the pedals, and away it goes. Like I mentioned, heated steering wheel standard on all Prius Primes. Got some auto high beams, and it looks like some sort of front window defroster as well. Let's get our auto wipers going, which are also standard on all Prius Primes. I like the general layout of the interior up here. I think it's quite functional. You've got some storage here with the ability to lift up and get even more storage underneath that. I think that's clever. 2 more USB-C ports, so carrier adapters if you plan on plugging in USB-A devices. Also 2 more in there, making 6 total USB ports, although only this one is USB data capable. But as you'll see right here, wireless CarPlay is supported, and I actually really like the design of their wireless device charger here. You can tell they really thought it out, because it will hold even something like this iPhone mini, and it looks like all the way up to something like an iPhone Max, Pro Max, maybe not with a case on, but it holds the device in there with these little arms, and it keeps it from rattling around when you're driving. I think that's really, really smart. This is a sort of a matte plastic feel. I quite like that. I also like the physical controls for climate. We're going to get a little bit of airflow going on my camera now. That powers right up. Heated seats right there, physical controls. Physical volume knob as well, though it is kind of far away. It's sort of a strange place for that one. As you saw a little here, a little bit of a center console, not the largest. Let's get this thing going. Chris mentioned this in his first drive of the hybrid Prius, but this thing is so well put together feeling. It's sturdy, you don't hear any creaks or rattles. The same is true with this one. I like going straight into B mode. It doesn't provide a full one-pedal driving experience, but it does increase the regen effect that makes it so you can typically drive around without having to use the brake pedal. It's regenning more of that energy back into your battery. We're seeing this steering wheel and gauge cluster setup now in the BZ4X from Toyota, as well as obviously the Prius Hybrid and now this Prius Prime. What I like about it is it allows you to drop the steering wheel remarkably low. I've got it higher than I would typically have for this video so that it looks better on camera. You can go all the way up here and you could cover your gauge cluster there, but realistically you'd have it way down here, and I like that because it's a much more comfortable way to drive, to actually look over the wheel to get to your gauge cluster. There's enough power from the electric motors to daily drive, but it's not as much power as you'd get from other plug-in hybrid vehicles such as the RAV4 Prime, such as something from Volvo. It's not to the point where you're like, ooh, I really don't even feel the need to have gasoline. I feel like I could entirely drive this with electric. It's not quite the case. It does feel slow with the electric motor, and I'm sure other outlets will go, oh, it feels peppy, it's really quick off the line. Yeah, that's fair, but say I wanted to try to pass someone here, I mean, there is a fair amount of power, don't get me wrong, it's plenty usable. The thing that's a bit strange to me is when you're driving in EV mode like this, and what it defaults to is there's no kick down button. So what that means is, say you were in a situation where you see in your rearview mirror someone's about to rear end you, and you mat the throttle, it's not going to engage the gasoline engine to get you up and out of harm's way. Now if you drive with one click here in auto EV hybrid mode, then you mat the throttle and the gas motor comes in and actually really gets you going quick. I mean, that's proper amount of power there to get you going. But if you're just in EV mode here, then it won't fire up the engine. And if you are in an emergency type situation, then good luck. But I will navigate this highway a little bit in EV only so you can see that it is doable. Pull out here and merge. Actually, my engine's still on. I think it's warming itself up a little bit. Engage the... Oh, we gotta be in D. You can't engage cruise control in B for some reason. Alright, adaptive cruise on. It also has lane tracing. So you can let it do steering for you. Look at that. Huh? You can't fully take your hand off the wheel for a long period of time, but you can for a little bit here. You can see it slowing down for that other Prius. And there we go. Lane tracing assist unavailable. Take control of the wheel. Now we're in full EV. You can see it gets me up to highway speed, but I'm foot to the floor. I could pass, but it's straining itself. So just don't think that this is going to give you the full experience of driving an electric vehicle in EV only mode. It's not like the RAV4 Prime in that, where it really feels like a full EV replacement. This still feels like a stopgap measure when you're trying to drive it as a full EV. Back into D mode to slow myself down. Still not using the brake pedal. You do have a few different drive modes here in the Prius Prime: Eco, Normal, Sport, and Custom. Let's see what oh, I gotta go. Let's do Sport, getting on this on-ramp. I'll be honest, you really don't feel that much of a difference between the three drive modes. So we beat this Elantra. Yeah! Working that 200 horsepower. Alright. It's a bit tougher for me to judge something like road noise on a day like today because it is raining, but I'll say it seems pretty average. We close this, close that. It doesn't really make too much of a difference because this is actually a soft cover. It's not a hard, heavy one. I do kind of like that those are just manual though. It seems average. This is a concrete highway, so it's going to be a little louder. But yeah, driving this in auto mode like this, where it's both hybrid and EV, it really does feel peppy. You're not making any sort of compromise, that's for sure. I got to take a moment to acknowledge how nice it is using Toyota's new infotainment system. They've done such a great job leapfrogging themselves from near the bottom of the market in infotainment up near the top. You can see how nice CarPlay looks here, and then if I want to go back to the main Toyota screen and adjust a setting or something like that, it's fairly easy to use, but then it maintains on the left here this menu where I can go right back to CarPlay very quickly. It's a really good system, it really is, and not too far from the driver here in the Prius Prime. I gotta reach forward a bit, but not too bad. Something I'm a bit surprised to not see is dual zone climate control at this trim level. We are talking about a $39,000 car, so not seeing dual zone climate control is a bit disappointing. Also would like to see some sort of camera rear view mirror for the Prius. I'd understand if that was an XSE Premium only option, so to be fair, it's possible that that car has that. I haven't confirmed, but we consider the slopey nature of the Prius. the fact that you don't have a ton of rear visibility, it would be nice to have a camera rear view mirror. I should point out in that vein that all the Prius Primes come with the most advanced version of Toyota's Safety Sense safety features. It's going to give you everything under the sun, from automatic emergency braking, cross traffic alert if you're pulling out, cross traffic alert if you're backing up, rear automated emergency braking, adaptive cruise control, anything to make your vehicle safer. Toyota is investing in that. So yes, you could buy cheaper hybrid vehicles, but keep in mind when you're buying something like a Toyota, you are getting that emphasis of safety that, yeah, all brands care about your safety, but Toyota definitely puts it in the forefront. Let me fire up this engine here. You can hear how much more refined it seems compared to some of the older Toyota 2-liter inline 4s. Definitely some of their older hybrid systems. There was a lot of clatteriness. You felt like that engine was like, yeah, I'm paying this much money and I'm getting this sound out of the car. I was much more of a fan of the 2.5 liters that Toyota makes. And this one, whether it's a lot of sound deadening and absorption or they've just refined the way that the engine works, it does seem to be an improvement. Looking down at the steering wheel, it is busy. There's a lot going on here. A lot of the buttons that you do see on most steering wheels, it's just the way that they've laid it out is a bit overwhelming visually. Once you figure out where everything is and you owned the car, you'd be okay, but it's something to keep in mind. What I do think that they simplified over a lot of previous Toyota models is the instrument cluster. Doesn't seem quite as overwhelming as the display of some of the other ones. You can still adjust things on the multifunction display on the left, and then on the right everything stays put. Just give you a gauge cluster there with information that you need. Not a whole bunch of hustling opportunities on our drive route today, but coming up this little bit of an industrial park road, we'll get on it and put it back into sport mode here and see what we can kind of suss out from this car. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit heavier than the standard Prius, but some of the things I like from a fun driving standpoint, the wheel has a very small diameter, and it makes for a feel of, oh yeah, I can really throw this thing around. There is a vagueness off center in the steering wheel as I load it up. It's wallowy. Don't buy into the people that say, oh, this is a sports car to drive around. You do feel the weight going around, and that's not to say it's not a lot better than a normal or previous generation Prius, but this isn't a car that's gonna make you want to go carve canyon roads. Just because it can do it doesn't mean it's the best tool for the job. But I gotta admit, when you consider the ethos of this car and sort of what the Prius used to be and kind of how it looks now and everything, the power is there. And I think they split a good difference between wanting to feel sporty and still wanting to be approachable for the general consumer. You get quite a lot of wheel slippage in the rain with this front-wheel drive only powertrain. They claim a 6.6 second 0 to 60 for this car. Obviously, that's going to be in ideal traction conditions. I think it's believable. I think some of the people driving yesterday in the dry were able to achieve that. The most important thing, though, about the Prius is just that they've thought a lot of this car out. I haven't spent a ton of time in it, but driving it around today, the comfort seems to be there. The ergonomics seem to be there. It's an approachable and accessible, and again, what seems to be a well thought out package between the physical controls for everything, where everything's laid out, a decent amount of places to put things. This is a car that would be a good car for front seat passenger daily driver accommodations. Now, if you're planning on getting some sort of hybrid vehicle that you're going to be needing to use the back seat and the cargo area a lot for, Toyota would probably rather you step into some of their other offerings. We're also driving the Corolla Cross Hybrid today. That's going to provide you more from a utilitarian standpoint, and yeah, you're not getting the plug-in hybrid option, but it's going to cost a good bit less and give you more cargo, more usability, and all-wheel drive. Again, you've got the normal Prius, got the optional all-wheel drive, but that's not going to give you as much space. Toyota will still sell you the Corolla hybrid, which is going to be much more affordable. That's more of your utilitarian, efficient, but less refined driving experience, so that's still an option. And of course you have their hybrid SUVs out there, the big boys, like the Toyota RAV4, RAV4 Prime, even the Sequoia is a hybrid now technically. The Sienna, don't forget that if you really need to do a lot of people and thing moving, but you don't want to sacrifice the ability to drive on electrons sometimes, and get a little bit better fuel economy. Toyota really does have this mission and initiative to be an eco-friendly brand moving forward, and you can see it with a lot of their products. All right, that's going to be a good opportunity for us to wrap this up. Big leaps and bounds for the Toyota Prius Prime in general. It's more usable from a driving standpoint, both quicker, more engaging, longer EV range. You do see a little bit of that price hike, but I think it's justified given how enjoyable this car is to drive and be in general. Just keep in mind, you're making sacrifices in that part of the car in order to improve this part of the car. So take inventory of what you need to do with your vehicle, and it's very possible that the Prius Prime will be the right one for you. A few other things to keep in mind: they are still being constrained by supply chain issues, so they're only going to be making about 10,000 of these. I'm trying to remember all my specs. Let me bring it up here real quick if you'll excuse me. Prius Prime, only 10,000 for the 2023 model year, and then only 15,000 for the 2024 model year. And they're only doing a total of 50,000 over, I think, the next year or so of the Prius in general. So these things are going to be a really hot commodity over the next year or two. So while it is a great product, I don't know if I'd recommend you going out and spending thousands of dollars over MSRP to get this, when Toyota does offer you other options as well that are quite good. Now, if you can find one for MSRP in a color you like and you want this car, very, very good. Don't get me wrong. But just remember, there are other options as well. All right, let's hop out and take one last look at it. That's the cliche of the new Priuses. Man, this thing looks good. So if you do want to see more on the Prius, check the link in the description for Chris's first drive on the car, and then we're also going to be out here driving the Corolla Cross Hybrid if you'd want to see that. And thanks for watching, everybody.